Before the event starts, we would like to make some requests and announcements. Please turn off your mobile phone or set it to silent mode during the seminar. After the event, a networking session with light refreshments will be held. We hope you will join us. Thank you for your cooperation. We will start the event shortly. 開会に先立ちまして、事務局からお願いとお知らせがございます。セミナー中は、携帯電話の電源はお切りいただくか、マナーモードに設定いただきますようよろしくお願いいたします。本日はイベント終了後、軽食付きのネットワーキングセッションを開催いたしますので、ぜひご参加くださいませ。それでは、イベント開始まで今しばらくお待ちください。Thank you for your participation to the event on G20 Introduction to Theme Priorities and Other Aspects of India's Presidency today. 本日は G20 インド議長国のテーマ優先順位他の見地の紹介にご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございます。First, I would like to invite His Excellency Mr. Shibi George, Ambassador of India to Japan, to make an opening remarks. はじめに駐日インド大使シビ・ジョージ閣下より開会のご挨拶を申し上げます。
Dear friends, good evening. Welcome to Embassy of India. Let me begin by congratulating the Commerce and Investment Wing of the Embassy of India for the initiative in organizing this important meeting today. It is with great pleasure that I welcome each one of you to the embassy. As you are aware, India has assumed the presidency of G20 on 1st of December this year, at a time when the world is facing a challenging time and is looking at G20 with a lot of hope. India's G20 presidency will be inclusive, ambitious, action-oriented, decisive, while remaining committed to its presidency's theme, One Earth, One Family, One Future. In an op-ed published on December 1st in Japanese newspapers, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi ji said, and I quote, India's G20 presidency will work to promote the universal sense of oneness. Hence our theme, One Earth, One Family, One Future, unquote. He further wrote, and I quote, our priorities will focus on healing our one earth, creating harmony within our one family, and giving hope for our one future, unquote. Dear friends, India will utilize the unique opportunity given by G20 presidency to contribute to building consensus on and finding solutions to pressing global issues of the day. It will also be an opportunity for India to showcase its own developmental experiences, learnings, and models as possible templates for others. As you are aware, in recent years, there has been a tremendous transformation in India, in its economy, in the digital transformation. There are so many things which we can work together and showcase to the world. Dear friends, the greatest challenge we face today, climate change, economic slowdown, debt distress, uneven pandemic recovery, food and energy insecurity, and geopolitical conflicts can be addressed only by strong and collective action. We can rebuild trust and promote peace and harmony by choosing cooperation over competition, sharing our experiences and learnings with each other and leaving no one behind. India's G20 presidency has got off to an auspicious start this month with meetings of the G20 Sherpas at Udaipur in Rajasthan and the finance and central bank deputies in Bangalore. These meetings allowed the G20 as a group to deliberate upon global challenges and priorities. Today morning, I had a meeting with Japan's G20 Sherpa in his office, and he was briefing me on the kind of exchanges and that he has seen in India. India's G20 presidency also coincides with Japan's G7 presidency. India and Japan have an excellent bilateral relationship. As you all aware, we have today a special strategic and global partnership. We look forward to working with Japan and other partners in making this G20 a very successful experience for the world. Nearly 200 meetings are scheduled in the coming months in over 30 different work streams of the Sherpa track, finance track, and engagement groups, which will culminate in the G20 summit in New Delhi in September 2023. From our point of view, from the embassy's point of view, we would be holding regular meetings with our friends and colleagues on G20 and the progress we make in G20 meetings in India. I once again welcome each one of you for today's meeting. Thank you and good evening.
Thank you, sir. Next, we will play a video on theme and logo of India's G20 presidency. Please see the screen. 続きまして、インド議長国のテーマとロゴについてのビデオを上映いたします。スクリーンをご覧ください。
India, home of 1.3 billion people, is a confluence of religions, traditions, and customs. A thriving global center of technology and the world's largest democracy. As one of the oldest civilizations in the world with a rich cultural heritage and diversity, and as the fifth largest economy in the world, India is proud to assume the presidency of G20. As the country blooms into a new era, we look to another poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. Lotus, the national flower of India. Representing our culture, history, and heritage. A poignant symbol for humanity to emerge victorious from its challenges. And the inspiration for India's G20 logo design. The design, rendered in saffron, white, green, and blue, is drawn from the national flag of India. The 7 petals in the logo signify the 7 seas and the coming together of 7 continents at G20 India 2023. Sitting above the lotus is a representation of the earth, reflecting India's pro-planet approach to life and seeing the world as one family. From this, we derive the theme for G20 India 2023, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, one earth, one family, one future. A theme that brings the G20's focus on shared global growth, while being in harmony with nature. G20 India 2023. One earth, one family, one future.
वसुधैव कुटुम्बकम्।
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Udaipur, the city of lakes, unique forum of both developed world and the emerging economies. So we need to build approaches to benefit the world on key global issues. The world is facing vast number of challenges.
G20 India. Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. One Earth, one family, one future.
Mr. Shishir Kotari, First Secretary, Commerce, Embassy of India, Tokyo, to give a presentation on Introduction to India's G20 Presidency. 続きまして、在日インド大使館一等書記官商務担当、シシル・コタリより、インド G20 議長国の紹介について講演いたします。
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Very happy to have this opportunity to brief you on India's G20 presidency and its priorities and other aspects of what lies in store in the next 1 year. We heard the ambassador speak about, he gave the broad overview of the priorities of our presidency, what we intend to do over a period of next 1 year. We also saw two very interesting videos which introduced you to the first one was on the theme and the logo, explaining the concept behind them. And the second one showed you the snippets from two of the G20 related meetings that were held in the month of December. So this is, this gives you an idea of how we plan to organize the different meetings leading up to the summit in September 2023 over the next 12 months. In my presentation, I will focus on three aspects. One is to give you a brief introduction, a very short introduction on the importance of G20. Second part of my presentation will cover India's presidency and its priorities, which is, of course, the main objective of today's event. And the third part of my presentation will focus on the manner in which we intend to organize events and summits during our presidency in a very uniquely Indian way. So I'll just spend 1 minute talking about the importance of G20. As you can see, it represents about 85% of the global GDP, around 75% of global trade, and nearly 2/3 of the world's population. It is today the premier forum for promoting international economic cooperation. And one very interesting aspect of G20 is that it has representation from both the developed as well as the developing countries. So this is the forum which plays a very important role, a very critical role in providing in shaping the global discourse and guiding action on pressing issues of pressing importance in today's world. Coming to India's presidency, as the ambassador mentioned in his remarks, we assumed the presidency on 1st December 2022. On the same day, our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, published an article outlining the vision and approach for India for its presidency. This article was published in major news publications all over the world, including in Japan, where Yomiuri Shimbun and Japan News also carried it. In the article, as the ambassador also mentioned, the Prime Minister wrote that our presidency will work to promote a universal sense of oneness in line with our theme of one earth, one family, one future. If you look at the context in which India has assumed the G20 presidency, you can see that it is a very difficult time for the entire world. We are going through a number of crises. We are still dealing with the impact of the pandemic, several geopolitical conflicts. We have a high level of economic uncertainty. We are also dealing with the issue of climate change. While all these challenges are there, India, as the presidency of the G20, sees them as an opportunity to work to find solutions to them, to contribute to finding solutions to these issues. And to give you a better idea of what it means, I would like to mention a few points from the article that the Prime Minister wrote and that I referred to earlier. If you take climate change, the Prime Minister wrote that India will encourage sustainable and environment-friendly lifestyles based on its own tradition of trusteeship towards nature. If you take the issue of food security, the Prime Minister wrote, India will seek to depoliticize the global supply of food, fertilizers, and medical products so that geopolitical tensions do not lead to humanitarian crisis. On the issue of global security, he wrote, India will encourage honest conversations amongst global powers on mitigating risks posed by weapons of mass destruction and enhancing global security. India's presidency, in the words of our Prime Minister, will be inclusive, ambitious, action-oriented, and decisive. While we'll ensure continuity of the work that has been done by past G20 presidency, we will also bring new ideas to the table. And we will also utilize this opportunity to share our own experiences, our developmental experiences. And I will talk about this in greater detail in subsequent slides with the rest of the world, and particularly the developing world. Another key focus for us would be to bring the members of the G20 together on some of the important issues that you see listed here, whether it is climate action, or it is debt sustainability, or it is the reform of the multilateral system, including the United Nations. At the G20 summit held in Bali in November, the Prime Minister had highlighted the priorities for India's G20 presidency, and you see them listed here. If you look at the areas mentioned here, some of them are areas where we have tremendous experience, which we can share with the rest of the world. Then there are also areas where India has proposed a fresh approach to dealing with some of our major problems. Take climate action, for example. Our Prime Minister has launched a global mass movement called Mission Life, or Lifestyle for Environment, which calls for individual as well as collective action. There has always been, a focus on action by government, institutions, organizations. But this is for the first time that we have called for action at the individual level, at the level of the people. And that is why it is a mass movement, to protect and preserve the environment. If you take the issue of food security, India is trying to repopularize the nutritious and traditional food grains like millets. 2023 will be celebrated as the International Year of Millets. And this is going to be a very important part of the agenda of India's G20 presidency. Take the example of digital public infrastructure. This is again one area where India has made remarkable progress in the last 7 years. And this is again, we see this as an area where we can share our experience with the rest of the world. The opportunity is huge, as you can see in the slide. Just take the example of digital payment systems. I think there are only around 50 countries which have functioning digital payment systems, and India has an excellent infrastructure for facilitating digital payments. These are some of the examples of the digital public infrastructure that is available in India. Look at Jam Trinity, which is Jandhan. Jandhan is basically bank accounts which were opened under a massive financial inclusion scheme. Then Aadhaar, A for Aadhaar, which is the unique identification number given to Indian nationals. And M stands for mobile. So this Jam Trinity has linked all these three. And what it has enabled is one, financial inclusion, number two, plugging of leakage of government subsidies, and number three, direct transfer of benefits to the bank accounts of the beneficiaries. And using this trinity, India was able to support around 470 million people during the early days of the COVID-19 pandemic by providing benefits directly to the bank accounts of these people. Second example is the Unified Payments Interface, or UPI, which facilitates digital financial transactions. In the month of October 2022 alone, UPI facilitated 7 billion digital transactions, which translates to about 230 million transactions per day. Then we have the CoWIN portal, which facilitated over 2 billion vaccinations against coronavirus in India. 2 billion is equivalent to 6 times the population of the United States. So these are just some of the examples that we intend to share during our G20 presidency. This will be a major focus area for us. The third part of my presentation is on the organizational aspects. If you see the slide here, India's G20 presidency will see the largest ever participation of heads of states, governments, and international organizations. Apart from the 20 members of the G20, we will have participation of 9 countries listed there, which will be the special invitees for the G20 summit. And in addition, we will also have the heads of these 14 international organizations. As the ambassador also referred, we are going to have around 200 meetings leading up to the G20 summit in September next year. And these meetings will not be confined just to Delhi or some of the other major cities in India. These meetings will be organized all over the country. This is an opportunity for us to show the diverse cultural and natural heritage of India. And we will take full advantage of this opportunity and have meetings organized in all states, union territories of India. We've made extensive arrangements when it comes to logistics for these meetings. It is a massive exercise. The idea is to, give the participating delegates and the guests for these meetings an exposure to the Indian experience. So they will be taken to iconic places across the country. Here you have some important places from the northern region. We have some places from the southern region, eastern region, western region. So all 4 corners of the country. They will be exposed to the Indian culture, whether it is classical dances of India or folk dances of different states, folk arts, festivals of India. One very important part of the organization of G20 related events and the summit by India is the concept of Jan Bhagidari, which is to encourage people's participation and involvement in our G20 presidency through a number of outreach activities. And some of these activities have been listed here. We have already started organizing these activities in India, and we will also be organizing these activities in other G20 countries, including in Japan, for which we will also request your support. So in conclusion, the idea is to organize, to have a G20 presidency which has substantive outcomes to show, but which will also provide the participating delegates with the uniquely Indian experience. So this brings me to the end of my presentation. If you have any questions, any queries, please feel free to write to me. I will be available. Ambassador is of course here. We are all going to be there in the networking session. Any questions related to India's G20 presidency, we will be happy to take that. Thank you so much. And please join us for some refreshments. I referred to millets in my presentation, so we have a special snack made of millets today. So please enjoy that. Thank you so much. Thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, sir. Now we will conclude the event on G20 Introduction to Team Priorities and Other Aspects of India's Presidency. Thank you very much for joining us today. Thank you. 以上をもちまして、本日のイベント G20 インド議長国のテーマ優先順位他の見地の紹介を終了とさせていただきます。本日はご参加いただきまして誠にありがとうございました。We have a networking session with light refreshments at the foyer just outside this venue. Please join us. この後、軽食とネットワーキングセッションがこの会場を出てすぐのホイヤーでございますので、ぜひご参加くださいませ。どうもありがとうございました。